Namaste friends, my name is Amit Garg. Welcome to my channel Ganesha-Hanuman.com. In this video, we'll talk about the upcoming eclipse, lunar eclipse taking place on October 28th, 2023. Now, the first part of this video, we'll talk in general about the importance of eclipses, what we can do, remedies. Eclipses are extremely important. Ancients knew, our sages, they put a very high regard. They had high regard for the eclipses. Eclipse, the Sanskrit word it's called grahan. Grahan means something that grabs hold of our consciousness. So these deities, these planets, these beings, they're grabbing hold of our consciousness to teach us some lesson, to force us, to help us to go within, to find deeper meaning of life, to sort of reset our clock. Okay, so very important phenomena. We'll talk about astronomy, astrology, mythology, all of that, and people ask, hey, is eclipse visible in my location? It doesn't matter whether it's visible with the naked eye or not. Eclipses they affect each one of us because they are metaphysical phenomena. They're actually happening at a much deeper level. Okay, and we have a set of eclipses, usually either solar eclipse followed by the lunar, or the other way around, and we have two sets every year, sometimes three. But the effect, the impact of eclipse, it may last even like 6 months before and 6 months after the eclipse. In fact, if some of the eclipses, they are, let's say, close to your very important points in your chart, like your lagna or your lagna lord or your moon or your sun, important planets, if they're hitting the important planets in your chart, these eclipses may impact for a lifetime. So meaning they may shift your life entirely. So we look at eclipses very closely. I'll create another video where we'll talk about the importance of eclipses that actually took place just before you were born. So with that, you can see sort of the purpose of your life, important insights about your life. So eclipses are fantastic. They're like portals opening. And so pay attention and see where they're happening. Understand the deeper meaning, not just, we want to go watch the eclipse. So that's not the idea. Eclipses are extremely powerful events. Not to waste this precious opportunity to go within, to reset the clock and reap the benefits. So we'll see some of these details. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'm going to start a course, Jyotish course, pretty soon. It'll be a 3 modules, and you can register. I'll put the details in the description. And also, if you're interested in readings, send me a message. All the details will be in the description section below. And as always, please write your comments and let me know your feedback and what other videos you might be interested in. So let's get started. I'll share my screen. All right. So today we'll talk about this upcoming eclipse, but there'll be lots of wonderful information on what is the meaning of eclipse, what happens during an eclipse, and what we can do. The most important part is what we can do, how we can harness those blessings, that positive energy of an eclipse. Okay, so let's get started. This eclipse happening on October 28th. We'll talk about that. But first, let's see what is an eclipse, what's happening, especially the lunar eclipse. Okay, see, lunar eclipse, first, astronomically speaking, during an eclipse, as we know, the sun, the moon, and the earth, they're in a straight line. So that, by definition, that's when an eclipse takes place, right? Pretty much they are aligned. So the sun, the moon, and the earth. So what does that mean? Sun represents our soul, moon is our mind, and earth represents our body, physical existence, right? So the body, the mind, and the soul, they are all aligned. Okay, so that you a lot of these yoga studios, especially, right? These people talk about the body, mind, and soul alignment of all these. So that's what's happening naturally during an eclipse. The body, mind, and soul, they're fully aligned with each other. So excellent, excellent time for us to be one with the universe. And now, if we talk about mythology, right? The eclipses represent the new birth of sun or the moon. So what's happening is Rahu or Ketu, which are the nodes of the moon. The north node is called Rahu and the south node is called Ketu. They are points in the orbits of the moon. So during an eclipse, Rahu or Ketu, they engulf, sort of they eat the sun or the moon, whichever eclipse it's happening, right? So that means, in a way, the sun or the moon, they lose their brightness, their light for a brief moment, some brief period of time, and then they emerge on the other side of Rahu or Ketu. So in a way, they're dying and then they're taking new birth. So it's a complete transformation. Imagine what happens, right? So when a baby is born, it's like a huge change, right? The baby is coming to a different plane of existence. The soul was somewhere else, now it's on this plane. So it's like that. So new birth, it's the change, transformation happening at a very, very deep level, massive scale of transformation. And what happens during the birth? A baby is born. It's like a lot of emotions, right? The baby's crying, the mother is crying. There are tears of joy, but then there's pain, all of that. So lots of emotions, especially on a lunar eclipse. Okay, you can say emotional turmoil, and it's like a roller coaster of emotions, especially full moon. And as a result, there could be release of emotions. So because the moon is full, the moon is full on a lunar eclipse with the nectar. It's overflowing with the nectar. See, any full moon, the moon is full of nectar, but during an eclipse, it's like a different, higher dose of that. So it's on a different plane. So you could see literally like release of emotions, release of trauma. So this is excellent time to work on psychological issues. Okay, and so there's deep cleansing happening because during an eclipse, you see body, mind, and soul are all aligned. So in a way, you can say, for example, in a lake, you can look through the lake. You can look at the bottom of the lake. The water will be so clear. So it's like cleansing taking place. So you'll have a clear picture. You'll have clarity. You'll have insights. Secrets may be revealed. Okay, very deep secrets, hidden gems of wisdom might come to surface. So immense spiritual growth is happening. Anytime there is change, there's turmoil, there is release, there is transformation, that leads to spiritual growth. So number one thing to remember about eclipse is immense spiritual growth. Okay. Now we talked about the birth, right? The new birth happening for sun or the moon. So in a way, it's a period when something is ending and something new is being born. Okay, so endings and new beginnings. That means that may indicate end of some relationships, end of our old habits, end of some things, but then also beginning of new things in life. Okay, so new things will be born. So the theme is change and transformation. So you may need to let go of some old habits, old patterns, old people, old friends, old family members even, right? But then there may be a birth of some, a baby may be born in the family, or a new relationship, new friendship, all of that happening. So it's kind of cleansing what's not needed, let go of what's not needed, but then embrace something new. So wonderful time for karmic resolution. So a lot of like karmic lessons from the past, from this life or from the past lives. Eclipse, you can actually burn off immense karma, right? What's the goal of all our incarnations? Like we take birth to do what? To just live through the results of our previous karma, right? So in a way, we want to burn off the karma we did in the past. And so, but we do that day by day, hour by hour, right, in normal course of our life. But during an eclipse, this is like thousands and millions of times of this change, transformation happening in that moment. So huge karma, we can burn off a lot of karma. In a way, we are accelerating our path to nirvana, moksha, liberation, all of that. Okay, which is nothing but just a fancy word for saying when we exhaust all our karma, then we are free being. So eclipses are helping us to become free. It's a time, major time for karmic resolution. And when all this happening, immense, intense energy is manifested. So this is the time where if we are calm, if we're not, let's say, not hanging out with, weird people, or not blasting music, if we are doing meditation, if you're just, doing some of these remedies, then we have immense energy at our disposal. So we'll talk about the recommendations. And of course, every eclipse is different. Okay, you have to check what sign it's taking place in, what zodiac sign, and then what nakshatra. So then you can see what's your rising sign, what's your moon sign, especially for lunar eclipse, and then apply the results. But overall, all of these are applicable to any eclipse, no matter which sign or which nakshatra. Now, what we can do, right? So we talked about all of these things. The biggest remedy, the biggest recommendation for any lunar eclipse is mantras. They say one should initiate or start, pick up some new mantra, or some old mantra that you haven't been doing or you wanted to do for a long time. So mantra, they say if you chant one mantra during eclipse, that is equivalent to 1,000 or even 1,000,000 times more powerful. So you want to do 1,000 mantras normal days versus one mantra during eclipse, it'll have same impact or even more. Okay, so pick up some mantra, and the mantra could be, related to the sign, zodiac sign, related to the nakshatra, or just anything like bij mantra for moon. Okay, so on my website you can see all the bij mantras for different planets. It could be just simple mantra for Chandra. It could be a mantra for sun and the moon. One of the best, because of course, eclipse, what's happening? Either sun is eclipsed or moon is eclipsed. So if you do the mantra for sun and moon, that will help both sun and moon. So it'll help with the new birth. So one of the shortest, sweetest, and the most powerful mantra for sun and moon is Rama Krishna Hari. Rama Krishna Hari. Rama is what? It's incarnation of sun, right? And moon is incarnation for moon. So we can look at all the 10 incarnations of Vishnu, Dashavatar, and 2 of them are Rama and Krishna, which are connected with the sun and the moon. So Rama Krishna Hari. Okay, so that's a very, very powerful mantra. Just keep chanting that throughout the eclipse. Say 12 hours before the eclipse, peak of the eclipse, and then 12 hours after the peak of eclipse. So keep chanting the mantra. Do lots of yagyas, fire ceremonies, homa. And then again, yagya you can do for any deity, you could do for Gayatri mantra, for Chandra, for bij mantras, right? And then fasting, because see, all of this is happening. Spiritual portals are opening, and immense spiritual growth is happening, change, transformation, turmoil. You don't want to be having your stomach full, because you don't want to waste your energy in digestion at that moment. You want to conserve, you want to use all that energy towards spiritual growth. Okay, so fasting at least 12 hours before the peak of the eclipse, and at least a few hours after the eclipse. And right after the eclipse, you can take a bath and then do things. And donations, again, same thing. Basically, everything is exaggerated in an eclipse, like 1,000 times more, right? Becomes more powerful. So so if you give some donation, that becomes 1,000 times equivalent, 1,000 times more powerful during an eclipse. And then you can set intentions. Like we said, there's a intense energy, manifestation of energy, right? So you can set positive intentions for anything, for your family, for yourself, for your health, for your work, for being a better person, for being more spiritual, doing more spiritual work, doing more tapasya, more sadhana, more volunteer work, helping other people. So any kind of intentions, you can set intentions, and those intentions could actually become your mantra. Okay. All of that, very, very powerful. You can do energy healing. So those of you who are into energy healing, Reiki or clairvoyance or energy healing, all of that energy work, extremely powerful during the eclipse. But make sure, be positive, be a good person, as in, don't be doing like weird tantric traditions. Or basically, if you're helping somebody or yourself, that's good. But if you want to use these immense energy, um, energy bursts for negative purposes, then you'll face the repercussions. So be very careful not to use any of this energy for personal your personal motive. Okay, so use it for other people, for yourself, just to help yourself help other people. And then of course deep meditation. So if you don't want to do anything, just sit and be. You can do some guided meditation or any kind of meditation. But again, so eclipses, they are known as grahana. Grahana means something is grabbing hold of our consciousness to teach us something, to help us grow spiritually. Okay. And their impact may last 6 months before or after, or even more, depending on if there are some important planets sitting near the points of eclipse that's taking place. So this was the general overview, and these are the recommendations that everybody can do, no matter what rising sign or what moon sign you are. So this is very, very powerful time coming up, and it happens twice a year at least, and they always take place in a pair, like solar and lunar eclipse. They take place after within a gap of 2 weeks. Okay. So now we'll see the impact of eclipse on all of the 12 rising signs. Okay, so let's go one by one. Aries rising. Okay, Aries is the number 1 sign, right? So moon is sitting here. Let me show. Moon is sitting here. This is number 1 sign, Aries, and the sun is sitting here opposite, number 7 sign, Libra, because it's a lunar eclipse. That means full moon. Full moon means sun and moon are opposite each other. Okay, so the first house and the 7th house. So the moon is sitting in Aries, so right. So this eclipse is taking place in Ashwini nakshatra, in the sign of Aries. So this is taking place in your first sign, first house, first in your lagna or in your moon sign, if your moon is here. So essentially, your 1-7 axis is activated. So we'll talk about that. And you see, this eclipse, moon is going towards Jupiter, and Jupiter is retrograde, and it's coming towards the moon. So you have huge blessings of the gurus during this eclipse. Excellent time, wonderful time for spiritual work. Any eclipse is great for spiritual work, but this one especially, because moon and Jupiter are going towards each other. You have the blessings of the gurus. So we'll talk about the 1-7 axis and what's happening with their lagna or with their rashi. But you also see Sun and Venus, they're exchanging signs. Sun is the 5th lord, Leo, and Venus is the 7th lord of Libra, but they're sitting in each other's signs, right? Let me show you here. So what we're talking about, these two guys. Okay, Venus is sitting in Sun's sign, number 5, and Sun is sitting in Venus' sign, number 7. So in a way, you can exchange their places. So what happens? So Venus comes in the 7th house and Sun goes to the 5th house. So the 7th house becomes extremely powerful. You have 4 planets sitting in the 7th house. And the 5th house becomes powerful because that we have the sun sitting in Leo in its own sign. So lots of things connected with the 5th house and the 7th house. Okay, so maybe your children and your partner may team up and do some things together, or your children may help your partner in your relationships. Some of your romantic relationships may turn into long-term partnerships, right? So seventh house and fifth house are very, very strong. And also in this eclipse, there's Saturn's third aspect on Lagna, meaning so Saturn sitting in the 11th house and Saturn has a third aspect. That means Saturn is having an aspect or drishti on the moon. So anytime, wherever Saturn's third aspect take place, that house, it becomes very key. You cannot ignore that house. So this is Lagna. So in any case, so the first house is extremely powerful. So what's happening here? So one is huge spiritual growth. So the focus is you, right? The focus is the first house, which is your Lagna, or the moon's sign or the Rashi. That is your personality. That represents you. So you can say self-discovery. It's like you'll find out who you are, right? New outlook, new way of thinking, next level of your growth, spiritual growth. I mean, there are four levels, we say. So wherever you are, you may be aiming for the next higher level. And you may actually shed your old self. This is like the snake shedding their skin, right? So you're done with your old habits, old ways of thinking, old patterns, and it'll be a new person being born, like phoenix rising. Okay. And letting go of ego is very, very important here, because this is the first house, represents our head, our ego. So the 1-7 axis means the focus will be other people and yourself. You have to maintain this balance. And now the 7th house has 4 massive planets, right? So you may have this tendency to focus too much on other people, but emotionally, the eclipse is taking place in the first house, in your Lagna, so you have to have this balance. You have to stay in this world, but not of this world. So you have to focus on the first house. Excellent time for meditation, going within, discovering yourself, who you are, and working on self-improvement. So that was Aries rising. Okay. Let's go to Taurus rising. All right. So for Taurus rising, this is number 2 sign, Taurus. Let me show you where the eclipse is taking place. So eclipse is taking place here and here, right? So in other words, I mean, eclipse is taking place here, and it's the full moon, but moon is here and the sun is here. So moon is in the 12th house, Aries, and it's the 6-12 axis that is being activated. So we'll talk about 6-12. And so the moon is in Ashwini Nakshatra in the sign of Aries, okay? So now let's talk about the exchange of sun and the moon. So sun is debilitated, of course, it's in Libra, but it exchanges with Venus, okay? So sun and Venus are exchanging. That means here, so sun is sitting in Libra sign, Venus is sitting in the sun sign, Leo. So Venus, you can bring Venus here, you can bring the sun back here. They exchange their places. So that means your 4th house becomes extremely strong, and your 6th house becomes very, very powerful, with Venus, Ketu, Mars, and Mercury sitting there, Venus in own sign. So good for a lot of things. Your mother may have some kind of recognition. 4th house, sun in 4th house, very strong, Leo, right? And 6th house will become strong. You may start new health routines. Your mother, actually, it's also excellent time to start any health routines, or taking care of health together with your mother. Like, let's say, hey mom, let's do yoga half an hour every day together, right? So that kind of thing. So mother and your health are connected. This may actually improve the self-confidence for your mother, especially. Okay. Now, one thing, be very cautious, because 6th house represents loans, and this is the eclipse time. So do not take any loans. Very, very important. If you have any pending loans, you can pay them off, but do not take any new loans during this eclipse period, at least a few days before the eclipse and until after the eclipse. Now, and of course, Saturn has a third aspect on the moon, so you cannot ignore the 12th house. It's and moon is going towards Jupiter. Jupiter is retrograde, going towards moon. So we have blessings of the gurus. So let's see what's happening where the eclipse is taking place, 12th house. Okay, so 12th house represents our dreams, our ancestors, anything to do with foreign people, foreign culture, foreign studies, foreign subjects, all of that. And 12th house also represents actually hidden enemies and sort of like blind spots. Okay, and 12th house is all the restrictions, like could be self-imposed or forced restrictions, like maybe hospitals also, or ashrams, like you want to go on a retreat, right? So those kind of things that are away from the normal way of life. 12th house also represents letting go, and in financial terms that could mean expenses, but you can turn that into positive by giving donations voluntarily. So one of the big remedies for 12th house, because 12th house people say, oh, this is the house of losses, house of expenses, but voluntarily we can do some things, do some remedies so that it doesn't end up as expense. You may actually give voluntary donations, okay? Or you may let go of certain things, like cleaning up your garage and donating stuff. So that's a perfect remedy for this eclipse for Taurus rising. And going on a pilgrimage, because everything foreign, right? So especially going on a pilgrimage in a foreign country, that is ideal within the next 6 months or so. And as I mentioned, donations, so especially to the priests. And then 12th house is also the house of our investments. Why? Because it's the second house from the 11th house. 11th is our gains, and then second is the sustenance of that. So if you invest money, this is good. But make sure you're not doing any risky investments. Do a safe investment. So this is a good time for you to invest money. And also you could say invest in foreign things, foreign culture, maybe set up some things in foreign business in foreign countries, things like that. But good time for investment. You may actually get messages in your dreams. Some ancestors may visit you. They may give you direction, guidance. So do lots and lots of meditation, all the things we discussed earlier, where I talked about the remedies for all the 12 signs, right? For everybody in general. So you can do all of that, lots of meditation. You have the blessings of the guru, do sadhana, do your tapasya. And this is a great placement to do spiritual work. So that was Taurus rising. Next is Gemini rising. Gemini rising, let me show you where the eclipse is taking place. Sun is here and the moon is here, right? And so it becomes, so you can say this is the 5-11 axis, sun in the 5th house and moon in the 11th house. So we'll talk about that. Before that, there's an exchange between sun and the Venus. Okay, why? Because sun is in Venus sign and Venus is sitting in the sign of Leo, which is ruled by sun. So what that means is you can exchange their places. So Venus you can put here and sun you can put here. So that means 3rd house becomes very, very powerful. Sun in 3rd house in Leo. And the 5th house, of course, becomes extremely powerful with 4 major planets sitting here. So instead of this debilitated sun in Libra, you can say a powerful sun in Leo. That's how the meaning changes, interpretation changes, right? So, so now one thing, 3rd house, very strong. So excellent time to shine, to show your skills or to pick up some new skills. Good time for creativity because 5th house is involved, right? But this is the time of eclipse, so do not make any speculative stock investments, or do not take any unnecessary risks. So no speculation, basically no gambling. So very, very careful. Do not make any speculations. And also it's eclipse time, so do not jump into any like instantaneous romantic relationships, right? So stay away from those like urges to get into a relationship. just think through the things, or at least wait a few days after the eclipse before going into any kind of relationships. And then Saturn has a third aspect on the moon, so you cannot, and anytime you have third aspect, you cannot ignore that house, that what's happening in that sign in that house. So very, very powerful eclipse taking place in your 11th house. Moon is in the 11th house, the full moon going towards Jupiter, and Rahu is there as well. So wherever Rahu is, it exaggerates, right? So it makes things 1,000 times more powerful. So 11th house is our friendships, 11th house is our desires, 11th house is our source of income, actually gains from our income, and it's our network. It's the elder siblings. So all of these things may manifest. So you may actually find very deep spiritual connection with your friends. Okay, so that may mean you may change your friendships, or you may rekindle old friendship. Maybe you have a very spiritual friend from the past. You may actually start rekindle that friendship that at a very deep spiritual level. Okay, so, or your sources of income may change. You may think of start having some kind of spiritual ways of earning money. Okay, and your desires may actually turn spiritual, meaning instead of very material, I want $100 million, you may start thinking of having a desire to go on a pilgrimage, to do sadhana, to do tapasya, to do spiritual work, to help other people, to reach out to the masses. So all of that is indicated in this eclipse. So that was Gemini rising, eclipse taking place in your 11th house, so the 5-11 axis is activated. Next is Cancer rising. Now, Cancer rising, very interesting. Eclipse taking place in your 10th house, and the 4th house is activated as well. Sun sitting there, so the full moon in the 10th house, debilitated sun in the 4th house in Libra, moon in Ashwini Nakshatra in Aries, debilitated sun in Libra. But that becomes a very, very positive thing. Let me show you, because so first of all, yeah, this is the axis we're talking about, 4-10 axis, because moon is in your 10th house, sun is in your 4th house for Cancer rising. Cancer is number 4 sign, right? So this is Cancer rising, 4-10 axis is activated. And then here, sun and Venus have an exchange. Sun and Venus have an exchange. Sun is sitting in Venus sign, Libra. Venus is sitting in the sun sign, Leo. So in other words, sun goes to the 2nd house, Venus comes to the 4th house. Okay, so the 4th house becomes extremely powerful, 4 major planets sitting here, and the 2nd house becomes powerful. Sun is sitting there. So good time to shine in your speech. So give powerful speeches, right? So this may also throw a spotlight on your family wealth. Somebody from your family may shine bright. They may become very famous, or things like that. But also, like, as we saw, exchange between the 2nd house ruler and the 4th house ruler. That means lots and lots of family time, dinners together. Your mother will be very prominent. Things to do at your home, like I said, dinners and gatherings at your home. So all of that is indicated. Now, Saturn has a third aspect on the moon that makes it very, very powerful. And moon also powerful in the sense, wherever Saturn has a third aspect, you cannot ignore that sign, that house. And moon is going towards Jupiter, and Jupiter going towards the moon because it's retrograde, so there is blessings of the guru. So very, very powerful time for you to make some changes in your career. Whether voluntarily or it'll be forced upon you, you will actually start thinking of incorporating spiritual themes in your career. You may actually completely shift your career into a very spiritual line of path, right? So, and your relationship with your authorities, you may want to develop more spiritual relationships with them, like on a very, good spiritual foundation. And also 10th house is your image, your how people perceive you, right? So what things you do in the broad daylight is the sign, a house of our karma. So all of that is indicated change, transformation when it comes to your career, when it comes to your relationship with your authorities, all of that. But then you'll have to strike a balance between your personal life and your work life. Okay. Next is Leo rising. Leo rising, the eclipse is taking place in your 9th house. And opposite is Sun, debilitated Sun in the 3rd house. So the 3-9 axis is activated. We'll talk about that. Let me show you the eclipse, the 3-9 axis. So it's taking place here. So, right. So this is the 3rd house. This is the 9th house. And this is the sign of Leo rising, right? Number 5 sign. And then there's an exchange between the Lagna Lord and the 3rd Lord. Leo rising, number 5 sign. So Sun is the ruler. Venus is sitting in the Sun sign, Sun's a sign, and Sun is sitting in Libra, which is ruled by Venus. So they are sitting in each other's signs. In other words, you can actually exchange their places. So Sun comes to the Lagna. Extremely powerful time for you to shine. Sun sitting in Leo in the Lagna could, make you president. Basically, it's like very, very powerful. So good for self-confidence, for introspection, for embracing the truth. Sun represents the truth. Sun sitting in Lagna is making you believe in your truth, in the power of truth, and making you believe in yourself, right? So self-confidence, and be a role model, basically. And then 3rd house also very powerful because 4 major planets here, and Venus comes back here. So your siblings may be the focus. Your skills, learn new skills, your courage, your communication, your documentation, your 3rd house is your desires also. So all of that is indicated. Short distance travels, lots of short distance travels for productive work, right? So all of that's indicated now. But the moon is in the 9th house, so 3-9 axis are activated. So 9th house represents our gurus, our father, our long far off travels, and eclipse means change and transformation, right? So what does that mean? You may actually change your relation. It may lead to change in your relationship with your father or with your gurus, right? So like a transformation happening at the spiritual level. This is the house for your dharma. This is the house for bhagya, for luck. So this may indicate change in your luck. Your luck may shine upon you. And this is the sign for a house for higher education, higher wisdom, sangha, our spiritual brothers and sisters. You may actually embrace a new lineage, because especially Rahu is sitting there too, right? So Rahu is non-traditional. Rahu wants to change things. And in any case, this is a change and transformation happening during the eclipse. So very, very powerful time for you to focus on your dharma, your relationship with your father, your gurus, and picking up, carrying on some lineage. You'll get the answers. So do lots and lots of meditation. So that's Leo rising. Next is Virgo rising. Virgo rising, let's see where the eclipse is taking place. So the eclipse is taking place in your 8th house here. And the opposite moon this is the full moon sitting in Aries sign in the nakshatra of Ashwini. And this is Virgo rising, right? Number 6 sign is Virgo. And Sun is debilitated in Libra here, sitting here. So this is your 2-8 axis is activated. We'll talk about that. And before that, let me show you the axis where eclipse is taking place, right? So 2-8 axis. And at the same time, the Sun and Venus are exchanging signs. They're exchanging places. Sun is sitting in Venus's sign, which is Libra. Venus is sitting in the sign of Sun, ruled by Sun, which is Leo. So in a way, you can bring them to their respective places. They can exchange places. Okay, so 2nd house and 12th house lords are exchanging places. That means maybe some kind of messages from ancestors, okay, from your lineage, from your gurus, from other planes of existence. So that area of life, 12th house, will be activated, will be actually shining bright. This eclipse will throw light on your 12th house. So you may get, guidance from ancestors, but also you may have literally some of your family member may actually go see your ancestors physically or metaphorically, right? So that could be the change and transformation happening. And then the eighth house, right? So this, in general, eclipse means change and transformation, right? But happening in the eighth house itself represents change and transformation. So I cannot overemphasize how wonderful, massive, opportunity for you to go deep into your spirituality. Deep transformation. You may get esoteric messages. So you see, your 12th house has Sun sitting there after the exchange in the sign of Leo, and your 8th house is activated. Okay. And you may also get some inheritance, huge inheritance. But also be careful. There may be like blind spots. There may be issues that you may not see very clearly because it's the 8th house of hidden things. And eclipse anyway is like, there's a lot of illusion happening. Rahu is engulfing the moon. So be careful when it comes to inheritance, money from other people. But there are chances you'll get inheritance. And then some secrets may be revealed. Deep esoteric wisdom. So for Virgo rising, one of the best times for you throughout the year to do meditation, sadhana, deep spiritual work. Next is Libra rising. So for Libra rising, let me show you where the eclipse is taking place. It's in the 7th house, right? So full moon in the 7th house in the sign of Aries, in the nakshatra of Ashwini, and opposite is full moon sitting in Lagna. So it's, you can say Sun is debilitated, and so your 1-7 axis is activated. Okay, the 1st house and the 7th house is activated. So your Libra rising, that is number 7 sign, right? So Libra rising, or your moon may be in Libra, right? So both. When I say rising, it's especially the lunar eclipse, especially if you want to see from the moon sign more than the rising sign. But again, depends on which is more powerful also. So 1-7 is activated. At the same time, your 11th lord and your Lagna lord, they're exchanging signs because Sun is sitting in Venus' sign. Venus is sitting in the sign of Leo, which is ruled by Sun. So they can exchange places. So in other words, you can bring Venus here and you can bring Sun here. So 11th house is in the limelight. Leo, Sun sitting there after the exchange. So great time for you to reach out to your friends, to make spiritual connections with your friends. You may have gains from your friends. Okay. And at the same time, so your Lagna is activated completely. Your Rashi is activated because 4 powerful planets sitting there. Okay. Now, this may also mean change in relationships because moon is sitting here, full moon, in the 7th house of relationships. So very deep, intense spiritual change and transformation happening when it comes to your relationships. So this is one-on-one partnerships, basically. Your spouse could be your personal one-on-one relationships or your business relationships. But these are like one-on-one relationships, not like one-to-many, not like you're teaching a class like that. So this is one-to-one relationships. So this is a time for change and transformation in your connection with other people, how you view other people, right? So this is a fine balance you have to maintain between yourself and other people. So you may actually end up focusing too much on other people because Rahu is illusion and eclipse taking place, is the full moon, too much emotional stuff going on. So be careful about not getting involved in emotional stuff with other people, with your partners. Okay, so that's the number 1 caution for Libra rising. Otherwise, excellent time for you. You could actually do lots of spiritual sadhana with your partner. Okay, so this is wonderful time for going on a partner retreats or doing spiritual work together. Okay. Next is Scorpio rising. Scorpio rising, eclipse taking place in your 6th house. So your 6-12 axis is activated. Let me show you that. So moon sitting in the 6th house in the sign of Aries, which is number 1 in the nakshatra of Ashwini. Opposite is Sun, debilitated Sun sitting in the sign of Libra. So the eclipse is taking place in your 6-12 axis. So So we'll talk about that. And before that, so you have the 10th Lord Sun and the 12th Lord Venus. They are exchanging places. In other words, Venus is sitting in Leo, which is ruled by Sun, and Sun is sitting in Libra, which is ruled by Venus. So you can bring Sun here in the 10th house, and you can bring Venus back here to the 12th house, to its own sign. So Sun in the 10th house, you may shine at work. This is a good time to develop connections with higher authorities, with government officials. And also this may actually bring you work from foreigners. You may actually travel abroad for work, okay? Because 10th house and 12th house have a connection. And then so what we were talking about is this, the exchange between the Sun and the Venus, okay? So now your 6-12 axis is activated. 6th house represents our daily routine. 6th house represents our enemies, our health in general, actually health issues, acute health issues, our shadripus, the 6 weaknesses, which are kama, krodh, lobh, moh, mad, matsar. Okay, 6th house is our pets, 6th house is the workers, people who work for us, and our job as well, which is more like if we work in a company, if you work for somebody else, it's more like 9 to 5 job, the 6th house. The loans and debts. So very, very careful. Do not take any new loans during this eclipse. If you have existing loans, please pay them off if possible. Excellent time to pay off the loans, but do not take any new loans, because lots of illusion might be there. You may miss the fine print. There may be, you may think it's a 3% interest, but ends up like 5% APR or things like that. Excellent time for charity and seva. See, 6th house in general is the house for helping other people, is the house for charity and seva and doing good. But eclipse taking place, so during an eclipse anyway, if you listen to the intro section, please make sure you listen to the intro. So eclipse is a wonderful time to give donation and helping other people, but 6th house is all about helping other people, right? So wonderful time to give donations and do seva. This is the house for Rog and Rina. So we talked about that. Rog is the health issues. Rina is the loans and the debts. 6th house is also our competition. So you may actually see issues with your enemies or competition. I would say not a great time to sit for competitive exams. So wait until the eclipse. Wait a few days after the eclipse is over. And again, yeah, so as I mentioned, do not take any loan. So that is Scorpio rising. So Scorpio, you can see number 8 sign, Scorpio rising, eclipse taking place in your 6th house. So 6-12 axis is activated. Please listen to the intro section for more details. Okay, next is Libra rising. Libra, the eclipse is taking place. I'm sorry, not Libra. Sagittarius rising. Number 9 sign is Sagittarius, right? So now we're talking about Sagittarius rising or Sagittarius Rashi. That means your moon may be in Sagittarius. And that's actually more applicable for lunar eclipse. Okay, so eclipse is taking place in your 5th house. And so your 5th house and 11th house are activated. You have moon sitting in Aries, full moon, and in the nakshatra of Ashwini, which is connected with healing anyway. And we have debilitated sun opposite sitting in the 11th house. So what's happening is you actually, so your 5th house and 11th house are activated, but also you have this, so this is the axis of the eclipse, but then you have this exchange between the sun and the Venus. Sun is sitting in Libra, which is ruled by Venus, and Venus is sitting in Leo, which is ruled by sun. So they're exchanging. So your 9th house is very powerful. Your gurus, your fathers, things, to do with your gurus, and excellent time for that. Actually, your gurus may get recognition. Your father may get recognition during this eclipse or after this. The impact of the eclipse can be seen, 6 months before and 6 months after. And also always check if you have important planets in your natal chart at these points where eclipses are taking place. So let's talk about the 5-11 axis. So the focus on 11th house is on your friends. Okay, so so this exchange may lead to also like gains from your spiritual work or higher education. So because ninth house is higher education and spiritual work, and 11th house is our gains. And now fifth house is our creativities. Fifth house is our children, our romance, our knowledge, our education, also the sports, our intellect, our buddhi. Okay. All of those things will see some kind of change, transformation, but that'll be for spiritual reasons, right? So you may see spiritual, maybe your children are turning more towards spirituality, or you could do more spiritual things as a remedy for this eclipse. You could do some chanting, especially mantras. Fifth house is all about mantras, so this is a great time to start mantra chanting. One caution: do not take any unnecessary risks. Do not like stock market, things like that. Not a good time for speculation, because fifth house is all about taking risk and speculation. But eclipse means could be illusion, could be deception, because Rahu is there. So stay away from any risk taking. Okay. Next is Capricorn rising. Number 10 sign is rising Capricorn. Let me mark that for you. So the eclipse is taking place in 4-10 axis. So this is Aries, this is Libra, this is where moon is, this is where sun is, this is the 4th house, this is the 10th house. So your 4-10 axis is activated. We'll talk about that, what that means. Let me just highlight that. So your 4-10 axis is activated. At the same time, of course, we have a debilitated sun sitting in Libra, where it's debilitated. Libra is ruled by Venus. And Venus is sitting in here, number 5 sign, which is Leo, ruled by the sun. So in a way, sun and Venus are exchanging signs. Okay, so sun goes in the 8th house. That means some secrets may be revealed. Sun in the 8th house means huge interest in esoteric wisdom, and there may be change, transformation related to your work, because 10th house is our work. So there's exchange between the 10th ruler and the 8th house ruler. So that means maybe change, transformation taking place at your work. You may actually decide to go into esoteric subjects, like have a career in spiritual path. Okay. Now, 4-10 axis is activated. Lunar eclipse, full moon in the 4th house. So be very careful about being too emotional, especially maybe your mother may get emotional, overwhelming emotions, right? So that is one caution. But otherwise, excellent time for you for emotional release also, actually. And sort of do meditation with your mother at your home. That's a wonderful remedy. Okay, so time to explore your inner happiness, time to spend time at home, spend time with your mother, maybe buy new vehicles, but that should be after the eclipse. Okay, and so your emotional mind will be very, very active during this eclipse, taking place in your 4th house. So your 4-10 axis is activated, and please listen to the intro section to make sure you understand the deeper meaning of the eclipse in general. Okay. Next is Aquarius rising. Aquarius is number 11 sign, right? So that's Aquarius rising. And when I said it could also be your Rashi. So if your moon is in Aquarius, this section applies to you. Let me highlight where eclipse is taking place. So your 3rd house and 9th house are activated, because moon is in the 3rd house of Aries in Ashwini Nakshatra. Sun is debilitated in the 9th house. So 3-9 axis is activated. So this axis is activated. So we'll talk about that. Before that, we have a wonderful exchange taking place between the sun and the Venus. Okay, sun is sitting in Libra, which is ruled by Venus. Venus is sitting in Leo, which is ruled by sun. So that means you can bring them into each other's place. So Venus comes to the 9th house, sun goes to the 7th house. Now 7th house, sun, that means your partner may get recognition. They may shine bright. Your partner may be very successful in general. That's the 7th house. And at the same time, 9th house means your higher dharma, your wisdom, your gurus, your teachers, your father. All of those things will be in focus. They may actually have some kind of change, transformation for good. They may turn spiritual, right? So very, very spiritual period for your father, for your gurus. You may meet new gurus, okay? And at the same time, 3rd house. Third house represents our younger siblings, our courage, short distance travels, our skills that we learn. The physical body part is our shoulders and arms. Third house represents our not just younger siblings, but our neighbors and close friends. And third house is the documentation, information, our courage, all of that. So those things that you could see change, transformation with your siblings, change in your neighbors, with your close friends. You may have to do a lot of short distance travels. You may pick up some new skills. So, or your siblings may become very spiritual. All of that is possible. So third house and ninth house is activated. But in general, good time to pick up any skill that has some spiritual foundations. It doesn't have to be like a spiritual skill, but could be like, just if you pick up music, for example, you can be very calm and approach it in a very spiritual manner. Okay, so that's the idea. So all of that for Aquarius rising. Okay, next is Pisces rising or Pisces moon sign, Pisces Rashi. Okay, so if your moon is in Pisces, this is for you. Now, eclipse is taking place in your second house, which is this, and sun is taking place, sun is sitting in your eighth house. So your second and eighth house are, second to eight axis is activated. We'll talk about that, what that means in a second. At the same time, there's an exchange going on between Sun and Venus. Sun is sitting in Libra, which is ruled by Venus, and Venus is sitting in Leo, which is ruled by Sun. So in a way, you can bring Venus here and you can bring Sun here. So your sixth house is sort of activated. Sixth house sitting Sun in Leo in the sixth house after the exchange. Okay, so great time to start some health routines. Become very, very regular in your routine, day-to-day routine. Okay, and eighth house has this, four massive planets sitting here. So eighth house is activated anyway. Eighth house is natural house of change and transformation. So happening during the eclipse. So very, very deep transformations may be happening in your life. And that may also involve your family. Okay. Fasting and speech and family values, family wealth, accumulated wealth. And so all of that is second house karakas. Okay. There may be, you may see huge transformation, spiritual transformation in some of your family members. Okay. In your speech itself. So you may start speaking, more politely, and you may start eating more sattvic food after this eclipse. But excellent time to do mantra chanting, because second house is the house of speech. So pick up some mantras and chant those mantras. So this is powerful time for you to pick up some mantra, and this will entail huge change and transformation. So go deep in esoteric studies. The best remedy for eighth house is pick up some esoteric subjects. Like if you already are a yoga therapist or an astrologer or Ayurveda practitioner, go deep in that subject, in that area. One thing is your lagna has a Papa Kartari. Papa Kartari means two malefics, two harsh planets sitting on either side of your lagna or your Rashi. Rahu is sitting Rahu is at 0 degrees of Aries, so it's almost entering Pisces. Saturn is on the other side, so you may feel pressure on your mind. And Pisces Rashi, anyway, they have a tendency to be very emotional. So be very careful not to be very emotional, but go within, do sadhana, do mantra chanting. You can even do like loud chanting of mantra with your family, especially with your family members. Wonderful time to do group chanting with your family members. Okay. So that was all the 12 rising signs. So if you go back to, let's say, 1 second. So if you go back to the first slide so this is in a nutshell, the meaning of eclipse, and these are the powerful remedies. highly suggest do one or more of these. You can give some donation, you can start mantras, you can do yagya on that day of eclipse or previous day or the next day also. You can do fasting, so don't eat too much, and set some positive intentions, do deep meditations. I hope this was useful, and the whole idea of astrology is to be able to do some remedies, to do some things in a practical things in our day-to-day life, to receive the blessings of this huge this huge influx of energy that's taking place during any eclipse. Okay. Hope it was useful. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. And you can join my course, a Jyotish course, and if you want a reading, all the details will be in the description section below. All right, thank you so much. Namaste.